What is up, beautiful people? We are here, episode 128 with Sayem and Mayra. I am glad to be back from vacation. I know you guys missed me. I was on 2 weeks vacation in Iceland, which I don't know if you guys know probably, but like that's why I've been gone for a while. So we obviously weren't doing the podcast while I was vacationing, but we're back. Thank you guys so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Yeah, and welcome back from Iceland. It's one of our favorite countries, actually.
I love it. It. So real quick, for my audience that doesn't know you, give like a quick real estate kind of resume, like just what you guys have done, what you guys do. Just real quick, give like background on you guys self, just professionally.
Yeah, absolutely. My field was completely different. I was in the medical field. I used to be a nurse, and obviously when we got married and I moved here, I was just trying to look for something different to do. And we kind of started with short-term rentals. My husband constantly throughout this whole journey had a full-time job, and we picked up one. And then the second project, we kind of just moved into our cabins and fixed it up and lived in it for a year and a half or two. And yeah, it just kind of snowballed from there. We started with one property, then it slowly became 5, then it slowly became like, now I think we're almost at 15 properties. So that's kind of our background.
I was going to say we have 8 active listings. To answer your question, a background of ourselves, we have 8 active listings. We have some multifamilies that we're renovating right now, and we're looking to buy more.
Nice. I love it. So real quick, so when you say you have 8 active listings, do you mean flips, or do you mean like as an agent or something, or what do you mean exactly?
As short-term rentals, that's primarily what we do.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, we are trying to diversify eventually.
Okay, cool. I love it. So that's great. I love it. That's amazing. So like, how did you guys find out about real estate? I know I usually start with a different question, but I'm like, for some reason, I feel like asking that one. It's just like, how did you find out about real estate? How did you get into it? Like, how did you learn about it?
So I will say it was kind of always in the back of our head that we would purchase something. It was kind of accidental, I would say. We were initially first looking to buy our first home together, and he owned a condo at that time. And we were like, that's the American dream. You get married, you have the white picket fence, and you get the house. And at that time, we kind of started looking. We're like, hey, there's this house that popped up, not in the area we would like. Should we go for it? And, he wasn't that excited about looking into it, but I was like, hey, this is not going to be our first home. Let's Airbnb this. And that's kind of where it started.
Yeah. So like my parents, they owned properties in New York, and they were long-term rentals. And I used to be kind of managing those, and I had terrible experiences. So I wasn't very interested in real estate itself. But I had a full-time job then. I was like comfortable with my life, living in Dayton, Ohio, where money went real far. I didn't need all of this, but then I think, you can't really be, millionaire or multimillionaire that quickly without having some sort of investment opportunities. So that's where we started going into, and I'm glad we did.
I love it. It makes so much sense. And then, so here's always the question I start this podcast with, which is just like, what were your fears when you were starting out in real estate, and how did you overcome them? I mean, it's Skorch the Fears. So this is like the classic question that I really like getting into, which is just, so what were the fears when you were starting out? How did you overcome them? Because I think is the biggest thing that hold back newer investors.
Yeah, just to piggyback on that. So what I was saying earlier, my biggest fear was dealing with tenants. So this whole idea of short-term rental where they're coming in for a few days, I was, very nervous, honestly. And I knew I dealt with like this New York City tenants, and that's not something that I was really interested in. But yeah, luckily Mayra was handling everything. She said she did all her research, and she was like, hey, I think we could do this. And yeah, that was my biggest fear.
And to be honest, I think at every level there's a new fear, right? I think before when we started, it was like, oh my gosh, like no one in our family has done this. How are we going to survive? The second level was, oh my gosh, we're like moving into the country. Are we making the worst decision of our life? And then now almost, we had made so many deals, and the economy and everything is so weird that our biggest fear is like, should we make the deal? Like almost like a deal paralysis. So I think you really have to be okay with having different types of fears at different stages, because I think our fear is changing every day.
Totally makes sense. Yeah, 100% makes sense. So, like, what's the biggest fear right now? I also like asking that. Like, I mean, there are definitely different fears at different levels. Like, I feel like mine right now is, I don't know, losing other people's money. I don't know why. That's like my biggest one right now. But how about you guys? Like, what's the biggest one, or like, if there are several of them? I'm just curious.
Wow, that you almost like
Yeah.
read my mind. But absolutely, I think losing people's money, and then not only losing money is like the problem, you're also kind of losing that potential future income or relationship that you're creating. And I think for me it's very I'm kind of like, I want everyone to be happy, and so it does kind of impact me. He's a little bit different. However, it's not the fact that he's okay with the money loss, but he's a little more okay with, hey, this is the culture of business. So
Yeah, I mean, with anything, you're gonna try your best. It's not like we're purposely doing anything to harm anyone, and that's why we haven't partnered with really anyone yet. A lot of people see what we're doing, and they want to partner, but that fear of losing money definitely is a big one. But as long as it's not like we took a chance and we're doing our best, right? We will treat it just like our other properties. It is what it is.
yeah.
Yeah, totally makes sense. So, what's your guys' biggest challenge right now? Like, what do you guys need in your business? Like, what's the things you guys are dealing with that you're like, man, I wish I had this, or I wish I had that, or whatever you're dealing with?
I'm definitely more of a, hey, is there cash flow right now? And because I think um I haven't lived enough to be like, oh, okay, this is going to be an appreciation game, and we'll sell this, and we've just acquired these properties, so it's not like we're going to sell them. So for me it's very cash flow heavy, and I think a lot of the deals right now, it's hard to find something that's cash flow today, and it will make sense in the future. And especially like where we are in Columbus right now, you will notice that there's just a lot of deals where you will be losing money, but people are really banking on the fact that, hey, hopefully I can make money on this in the future. And it's just not, I guess we're not used to it because we come from the short-term world.
Yeah, I mean, we've been looking actively this year. We haven't bought anything, and it's like one of the first years we haven't bought something. And we're really working on our back end and all this other stuff. Kind of doing it reverse. We built out our website and all this stuff. Hire proper accountants, proper team members to help out with messaging, all this other stuff. But I think like the biggest barrier right now is that we live in Columbus, Ohio, and we're like seeing how it's, with Intel coming, Google, Amazon, all these companies investing here. It's like, we're going to go into this appreciation play where we have friends that are losing money, a couple $100 a month, which is nothing, because they're estimating that this can double in 5 to 7 years probably. So yeah, I think that's where we are stuck with. We're actively looking, but it's just numbers don't make sense all the time.
I feel like I mean, my personal opinion, I'm much more of a cash flow type of guy. Like, I'd rather own properties in a shitty place that, like, I don't want it in a shitty place maybe, but like, I would rather it cash flow somewhat and it be not in like the absolute perfect area than it to be negative.
Absolutely.
Because it's negative now, but what happens when there's an economy shift? Then you lose all your appreciation, right? Appreciation should just be a bonus. I feel like it should not be the goal. I don't
Yeah.
know that my personal opinion on it.
I
Anyway.
agree with that 100%. And, a lot of realtors and a lot of folks here will tell you otherwise. They'll like, um,
And I really think that's like the smartest way. And if you're able to be okay with that kind of stress every month, sure. And
But
I
also, it's
know.
Columbus, Ohio, too. It's not like we're not talking about San Francisco, California, or like New
yeah.
York City, right? Those are that. If you're gonna do the appreciation play, let's actually do the appreciation play. I don't know. That's my thoughts on it. Like Columbus, Ohio, should be a cash flow market.
You'll be surprised. You'll be surprised. The rent is just not going up high enough for the amount that they're asking for. And I think a lot of people here are okay with keeping their houses priced high, and we'll see if it sells. And that's kind of how it's going. And yeah, and just the other big problem with Columbus, Ohio is just there's so much land. So that, by the time I appreciate, this is not San Francisco, this is not New York, where there's this much space to work with and you have 5,000 or however many, 5 million homes.
Jobs and everything.
Yeah.
But let's see. I mean,
Let's see.
a lot of people are promising a lot of things and hoping for a lot of things
Yeah.
for Columbus.
No, it totally makes sense. So, mainly Airbnb, mainly in Columbus, Ohio.
Mainly in the
What
state
are-
of Ohio.
Yeah, state of Ohio. We don't.
Just
We
the-
actually don't own any properties in Columbus, Ohio right
Yeah.
now. We live
Oh,
in it.
really?
Yeah, we live very close to downtown, but all our properties are in Hocking Hills, which is a very cabin resort area, and then Dayton, Ohio.
Not so glamorous state of Ohio.
Okay, cool. I love it. And then, so what do you feel like is the best piece of advice you give to someone just starting out, being like, hey, I want to do this Airbnb thing. It seems super cool. I love it. What's like the biggest first piece of advice you give them to be like, maybe like the greatest lesson or something like that?
So I'm a big numbers guy. I study finance, and it definitely run your numbers. I think a lot of people, they don't do that. They see like, hey, and they get stuck with just keep on investing and investing and putting more money into it. That they never see a return, and then they don't account for paying yourself, and everything else. I think that's the biggest thing. A lot of people that I talked to recently, they're just buying and thinking that they're gonna be millionaires overnight. It's not that easy.
And to add to that, I think a lot of online, there's a lot of like glitz and glam on, hey, like, you're going to make X, Y, and Z, invest in a place where you don't even know. I really do think we were really blessed by investing where we lived, because there was just so much things that went wrong, and we were able to like actually learn and adapt and use that when we moved to our cabins and be like, okay, hey, these are the things that need to go in order for the business to be successful. So I really think if you're buying something, try and buy something in your backyard and see if it works.
Yeah,
I love it. Okay, cool. So basically, the advice is just buy something. I really like that. Like, is that the end advice? This is just like, hey, just buy something. Go for it.
If it makes sense, we've done out of state investment and bought something in Indianapolis, and it was a mistake for us. We ran our numbers, everything looked good. We got on a great deal.
It's never a good thing when you got it on a good deal.
Up and coming area and stuff like that. So, but I mean, not only running in numbers, you have to know the area. You have to know, you have to have the resources available, like a cleaning team. If you're doing short-term rentals, it's a lot more that goes into it. Like that maintenance workers, the cleaning team, all this other folks. But I think, we were fortunate enough to get out of that Indianapolis property with a profit. But we know a lot of folks that go under on some of these deals and are still struggling.
Take calculated measures.
Yeah, take calculated measures. Buy something near you. Learn. You have to know your property. You have to learn the business. It's a whole different beast.
Right. Totally makes sense. So what resources would you give to someone? Like, let's say, hey, I want to learn this Airbnb thing. Like, where would I go? What were the things that you used to like initially learn how to do this? Like, where would I go?
I mean, there's a bunch of stuff. There's, Now there's a lot of resources where they charge quite a bit. And if you're just kind of figuring out if this is even meant for you, I really just recommend looking on Airbnb and Verbo itself and look in your area, make a list of things and make a list of like amenities that these rentals have. And then, be real with yourself. Like if someone has a hot tub and you don't have the budget for a hot tub, maybe this won't work for you. But I think really look into what amenities people are providing, because these Airbnbs, they are exceptional and they're providing a lot of amenities nowadays, and that will make you survive in this kind of economy. And then after that, if you're really serious, get AirDNA. There's
So to answer your question, sorry to not cut you off,
no.
but to answer your question, what we did was we learned from YouTube.
yeah.
The biggest thing was we watched a lot of videos, a lot of short-term rental videos. You can Google it. You can learn a lot of stuff from YouTube. Google and all this stuff. There's real estate meetups, local real estate meetups, which we did, which we're doing now. When we started, there wasn't much in Dayton, Ohio. Not a huge community there, but in Columbus is huge.
The other thing is go call the county. Airbnb you'll call Airbnb or any short-term rental platform, and you'll call them and they'll be like, oh yeah, Nebraska, wherever, you can definitely do short-term rentals. But it's the county that will tell you yes or no, because for example, Dayton, there's specific areas where you cannot do short-term rentals. And if you purchase in those areas because you got a good deal, you're kind of stuck with it.
Yeah, know your rules.
Know your rules. I guess that's
local rules.
I love it. Cool. So in this journey of entrepreneurship, right? Like I feel like one of the main things, like there's a lot of struggles, right? Like things aren't always going your way. Things like can be super disappointing at different points, right? There are low times, right? Where like things are like, man, am I going to go bankrupt? I feel like if you feel like at some point, how long have you guys been doing this for? I actually don't know.
2019, end of 2019.
Yeah,
that's like 6. Yeah, that's 5 years. I feel like maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's just me, but I feel like at least in 5 years, at one point you feel like, man, this is not good. I might go bankrupt. Like if I don't really get stuff together. How do you get through those times? How do you get through those times that are like really dark, really hard?
No, we've hit rock bottom. Yeah, we have. It was really bad. Like, we sold our condo, we moved to the cabins, and we lived there for a year and a half.
We jeopardized our health, our everything.
Yeah, it was bad. Like we were in terrible shape. We were just burning through money. We didn't think we would make it. Contractors were, racist there. They were sexist. There was, we sued one of the contractors and we won. There was a lot of stuff that happened, and a lot of things that we deal with that, a lot of people don't say. When they hear our success, they hear that we have, all these listings, all these properties and all this stuff. They think it came easy, but it really didn't. We thought we were gonna go bankrupt.
I think there was like once midpoint in our project where it was weird. Like we were getting like all these invoices from my contractor, and then all of a sudden, like I guess my email wasn't updating and I didn't get any invoice. And so the contractor comes, visits us on site, and he's like, hey, there's like a additional, like I think almost 25 grand that's due. You guys haven't paid. And I'm like, oh really? I'm like, I've been checking the invoice list and I'm not seeing anything. And then he's like, oh, maybe there's a glitch on my end. Let me refresh it. And when he refreshed it, it all came through. And I know both of us just looked at each other like we're doomed today. And it was just hard because I think we had no one else to talk to about this. And we both come from families that believe in like the traditional mindset, don't invest, just save. And so when we needed someone to talk to, it was very difficult. And then we only had each other to talk to, and then sometimes we just didn't want to talk about it with each other either. So it's rough, and you're going to go through it, but if you're smart about it, I think you can survive.
Yeah, I think living in a remote area, we thought we were alone. We didn't really know anyone in there. And we didn't know anyone who was doing this stuff that we're doing. And I think I think what saving grace of all of this was once we did finish 2 of the cabins and did a cash out refinance. It validated and it appraised for more than twice what we bought the property, and that kind of motivated us to see that, hey, it validated that all this stuff, all the hard work that we did, it paid off, and that kind of encouraged us to buy more and do more things.
I love it. I love it so much. So cool. So let's go through your story a little bit. Like, talk to us about your first deal. How did it happen? What was the story? How'd it go? Let's just start there.
Yeah. Again, we were kind of looking into area which is perfect for like school districts, perfect for growing a family, and just I don't know what happened. Every time we were going to buy something, it just didn't work out. And then
This was 2019.
right in 2019, and the market was hot then too. Just nothing came through, and then finally a property in downtown Dayton came up, and I think I sent it to my mom, and my mom was like, "Oh my gosh, this is perfect! Every room has a bathroom. Like, this is so beautiful. You need to check it out." And I'm like, "This area is really, really bad." I send it to him. He's like, "Okay, the house is nice, but I hate the area." I'm like,
Yeah, it's known for a really bad area.
yeah. And I'm like, "Let's go check it out." Mind you, the time when we were looking at that house was actually overpriced in comparison to everything in that area.
It was a flip.
It was a flip, right? And anyways, I saw it that night. I'm like, "Babe, this is the house we have to buy. It's so beautiful. I want it." And lucky for us, that seller already knew that his house wouldn't appraise for more than what he was asking for. So he was like, "Hey, all I want is what I'm asking for, nothing more." And I'm like, "Okay, I'm ready to sign." And
Even that was a stretch.
even that was a stretch.
But
And
yeah.
I think everyone around us was like, "Why are you buying this house for this price? Like, this is..."
But you had the mentality that you're like, hey, we weren't gonna live there. We were gonna rent it out on Airbnb.
Right. And meanwhile, we're like hearing like whispers from people like, "Hey, what if no one comes to Dayton, Ohio to rent this?"
Yeah.
or whatever. And then I kid you not, I think we went into contract the next day, and we got started. It took us like a month to get ready. We got our first booking like that day.
Yeah, instantly. But yeah, and then COVID happened, and we had to shut down for a few months.
Yeah.
And we thought we were bankrupt. That's another story.
Right.
Like where we're going back to rock bottom. We're like, did we make a mistake? We invested so much money into this, and right then COVID happened.
We'll talk about that a little bit. I am curious. What happened when COVID happened? Like, what happened to the business? I mean, Airbnb, that's rough, right? That's like literally the opposite of what you want to be in during a pandemic. So
Yeah.
what did happen?
I mean, what, like 3-4 months? No, not even, like 2 months in, right?
Well, a couple months in, we had all these bookings, and people were booking. Where's the surprise? We're like, hey, people are actually booking this place. Wow.
Yeah.
And then COVID happened, and then we had to cancel on these a lot of these folks.
Refund full.
Yeah,
refund.
we gave full refunds even before that was a mandatory thing. It became mandatory like later on, a couple of months later, I think. But in the beginning, we just we felt bad. We were like, hey, we can't host you, and it's not fair for you to come and do all this. So yeah, we closed off for a couple of months, and we're just paying out of pocket. And
actually, to add to that, then they announced like, hey, we're gonna go into lockdown. And that weekend before, we get hit by our most wonderful guest that we could have ever asked for. And let's just say he ended up damaging the place for $30K worth of damages in our house.
They threw a party, only 12 folks, but I mean, we said no parties or events and things like that. But later on, we found out that they threw a party. They flooded our basement, our first floor, damaged a lot of stuff.
Jeez.
Yeah, and like all we noticed is like on the first night they're like pretty much urinating in front of our lawn, and I'm like, that's weird. Our first floor has like 2 bathrooms. Why are they doing this? And only to know next day he calls, we're like, hey, your whole first floor is flooded. So
yeah, I think long story short, we closed down regardless, and then COVID happened, and we didn't open up for a while. And then unfortunately, but a lot of people started coming to Dayton for funerals and things like that. So it picked up, and we're getting booked, and yeah.
Gotcha.
And then 2021 happened. Well, that was 2021. Yeah, 2021 happened, and the revenge travel and stuff like that started happening, and it was really good for Airbnbs because hotels were closed off, or nobody wanted to book really hotels at that time, and they were booking these single family homes and stuff.
Yeah.
I
So
love it. So
So we
then, was
survived.
it just this house the entire from 2019 to 2021? It sounds like, or were there other houses, or
So yeah, it was right. I think
yeah,
sorry.
no, I was like, I was like, yeah. At that same time in 2020, we bought a dome, which is still sitting on our garage, by the way. In 2020, we bought this dome,
I'm sorry,
and
what? What do you mean
like
by
a geodesic dome, one of those. I don't know if you.
So okay, so another thing.
What is that?
Don't fall for YouTube
Well,
influencers, okay? Because at that time there was a lot of because during COVID, glamping was a big thing, and we saw it and we're like, oh my
Well,
gosh, this is a great idea.
not in the US though. This was in the.
Yeah, in
I
Europe.
was watching this in Europe.
Correct, in Europe, and we're like, let's build this like somewhere. Oh, okay. So let's build this somewhere in the States. It's Pacific. Yep, that's it.
I think you're muted.
Yeah, I think.
Sorry, I was asking, is this it?
Yep, that's it.
Yeah. If you look up
Maybe bigger than that,
like Pacific domes, maybe.
maybe like
Pacific
this,
domes.
something like that.
Yeah, it'll be like a white shell.
Yeah, it's a little bit
instead of
more
a clear.
covered.
I'm just
Look
curious.
up Pacific Dome. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, that's
like that.
yeah,
like
that.
those. Yep.
correct.
Interesting.
And so they were building these in Europe to pretty much help with like homelessness, and a lot of people were also using them as like campsites. And we're like, oh, let's do this! Like, this is gonna sound so exciting. This is gonna be so exciting. So there was like whatever. We purchased it without having any land, where we just thought that buying land is so easy.
Yeah. Yeah. That's another story, but yeah, we bought it without any land, and we're looking into putting it in Tennessee. We're like, oh yeah, we went to the smokers, we love it. Why not put it in Tennessee? They have restrictions, so within certain areas, it would have to be away, and then.
So that fell through. Then we're like, we've done it in Ohio. Let's look somewhere in Ohio. We put in offers left, right, and center.
Yeah.
Like,
this was 2021.
And everything was just going above asking. Then finally, a property came along, and this was a property with like 6 cabins on one, but it was just poorly advertised.
Yeah.
He happened to find it. I happened to go the next day.
I was watching Zillow like every second, like anything comes up, because I'm like, hey, we need land. We went, and there's a lot of rules with land, right? There's not all land is buildable. You need acreage, you need to put septics, you need a road to get in there, a lot of stuff.
Like, that's a whole another video.
But, I could go into it.
So yeah, and then we finally found this property, and I'm like, hey, well, I know we have this dome, but what if we just have cabins already? Get it going. We'll think about the dome thing later. And luckily, our realtor begged this person. They're like, please let them just put in an offer. They've been looking for months and almost a year, and finally they accepted our offer, and we were like, okay, but now what do? We have to sell the condo that we lived in Dayton to make this happen. And so we sold that, moved in, and lived there. We were an hour away from any grocery, hour and a half away from Home Depot, Lowe's, and yeah.
It was tough.
It was tough.
Gotcha. Okay. Totally makes sense. And then, so how did you eventually start like expanding? Right? How did you start being like, okay, now let's start buying more houses? What did you do to get money? How did you buy those properties? Was it just conventional loans? Was there anything special? Like, how did you start expanding your portfolio?
So we got really lucky with that. Since we were already living in the on the first, we bought it as an investment property, right? So that's those cabins. Then when we did the cash out refinance, it was a primary home because we were living in it. So we were lucky with that, and then we got. We cashed out, refinanced a lot of the money, and then started buying more properties. From there, we bought another one in Dayton, near us, and then we also bought the Indianapolis one, which didn't go so well, and we sold it in 4 months for a profit at least. On on the day of the closing, that property came with furniture. It got robbed on the day of the closing. So before we even got the keys.
Yeah, and then we also purchased like a multifamily. So pretty much we did kind of refinance, and when the rates were good, to be honest, and we kind of used that and kind of stretched the money as much as we could, and kind of just grew from there.
So yeah, I think we buy things at a good price, and then add value, and then do a cash out refinance and buy other stuff.
I love it. Awesome. Cool. So then how are you finding these properties? Is it real estate agents, wholesalers? Like where are you getting the properties from?
I mean, wholesalers generally keep the best for themselves. That's what we feel like.
Yeah.
And then once you do all the numbers and fees and things like that, I don't know if it makes most sense in some cases.
I'll be honest, every deal as of now, we found ourselves, and that's just been aggressively glued onto Zillow. And I mean, like looking at it numerous times, and I know that's probably not like a popular answer, but it really is. And we do, that doesn't mean that we do not use realtors. We do use realtors, and they've really helped us out close the deal. But we do take the deal to them, and we're like, hey, like make this happen.
There hasn't been a single deal that a realtor has bought us and we bought it. It's always been us doing the numbers. We were like, hey, we look at the property, I run the numbers, I'm like, hey, this is how much it could make us, and this is how our expenses are going to look, and then we go for it. And then realtors, not saying that they don't do anything, they send us deals all the time, but just
so are these on the MLS? Are they FSBOs? Like which one?
They're on MLS. It just
okay, nice. So then what do? You just contact the realtor who listed it? It's like, hey, we want it, or hey, like, well, let's get it $50,000 cheaper, or what? What do you do?
We
tried that. we tried that. And it hasn't worked out for us.
Well, one property it did, but okay. So to go back to that, we do kind of right after we find the property and we run our numbers. We also don't want to be pressured, so we kind of like do our due diligence and then take it to our realtor and say, hey, like, this is the number we're talking about, let's close on this. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but we did get lucky in one scenario where we offered like, I think what, $75,000 below asking per Dayton.
But we had a realtor.
True. Yeah, exactly. We again had a realtor, and that person held on to that deal for a while, and then a month later we got a call like, hey, you know what, we're ready to close for that asking. And we went
but you have a realtor you use to submit all your offers.
Yeah.
What you're saying?
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay. I'm curious why not just call the listing agent and be like, you write up this contract, save the seller some money, maybe get your offer accepted more. Just a thought. I don't feel like you need a realtor. No offense. I hope they're not watching, but like,
no,
I don't know.
So I think like I said, we tried that route where we have called the listing agents and made offers, and it didn't go anywhere. Maybe the market was too hot or whatever it is. I mean, we know a lot of realtors, like a lot. We can save and we could probably get discounted on things. But right now we haven't been finding the greatest deals. So maybe the realtors do bring us something. But we're very picky. That's why we haven't bought anything in like over a year.
You know what? I'll also want to add to that. You just gotta accept some things that you're not good at, and sometimes we're just, I don't know what it is. Like,
we're not good
at bargaining or negotiating, and that's why we need a representative. And I will be honest, that is kind of the main reason, because we have tried it, and I kid you not, even if I go buy something at a store and I'm trying to negotiate, it doesn't work. So that's kind of why we haven't. It could be probably because it's been 5 years of experience, and we might need to get a little more experience under the belt.
It makes sense. Like I get it. Like, stick to what you're good at, right?
Yeah.
Like you guys don't know. You probably don't know much about me, but like my primary business is wholesaling. Like I'll do like a couple flips. Like I'll do like 1 or 2 flips a year, and then I'll buy like 1 house a quarter, or try to. It's usually more like 1 every 6 months.
Nice.
Generally speaking. But yeah, like I hate the idea of operating an Airbnb sounds like torment to me, right? Because that's my personality type, right? Like I'm really good at negotiating, right? So it's smart. I mean, like I get it. It's smart to stick to what you're good at. So okay, built the portfolio. What are your goals? What do you guys want to be? Like, what is your guys' life goals? What are your business goals? What are you guys trying to do?
You know, before, if you asked me a few years ago, it would be a little bit selfish almost, right? It was like, oh, I want this car, I want that, I want this, But over the years, it has changed, and I think a, a lot of people around us, they're getting older, they're getting sicker, and I think it's just having time. It's just being able to be like, hey, you know what? Do you want to go see family, or do you want to go to a vacation around the world? Just being able to do that, I think, is literally our goal.
Yeah, freedom, I guess, like being able to wake up whenever you want to, passive income, things like that. I think that's why we started all of this, in the hopes that I'll quit my full-time job one day. I'm still working it. I tried for 6 months, but
You gotta grind a lot harder, guys.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But I think eventually, that's the goal. I think I'm gonna quit and focus on real estate. And eventually, we're hiring and building a team,
Yes,
and
absolutely.
we'll get there.
I love it. I love it so much. And then, so I found you guys off social media, right? Like, how'd you guys get into like posting, doing social media, all of that type of stuff?
I don't do anything.
He doesn't do
Oh.
anything, honestly. Yeah, it really did grow a little bit during COVID. But I just, really interacted with people, and it was
Yeah.
genuine. It was just really like I think I built some bonds from social media, where it was like, hey, like I actually know about people's lives and families, and that really helped. And now there's several times where even my my guests, they follow me,
Yeah.
and they reach out to me, and they're like, hey, like, oh my gosh, I didn't know you were opening up this, I want to book that. Or
Yeah.
just recently, unfortunately, we had a guest who had her wedding at one of our rentals, and now they're all meeting at the same place for a funeral. And it's just, you build those bond, and it does take time. And if you really want to focus on social media, really, really be genuine to people, and it comes back.
But why did you want to even get into it in the first place? Was it to grow your business? Was it just like kind of also to like just because it seemed fun? Like, what was the reasoning?
For me, honestly, it was like a portfolio. I really think that no one cares about Mayra or Sayem. No one cares about anyone, right? And how are you going to show your work nowadays? It really is through social media. And how are you going to find connections for your business if you're not even on it? So that is primarily what helped me. And there was like our cleaner in Indiana. That's kind of how I found them. There's just so many
Contractors. We found a lot of
so many,
folks
exactly.
through social media. But I
Right.
think the main thing is that why did you start social media? I think it was mainly because you're doing home stuff, right? You're doing home
was, yeah.
decor and all this other stuff. And she got a huge following because of that stuff. And now she's posting our real estate stuff, and she's good at that stuff. I'm really not.
All good. I totally get it. So awesome. Like, do you recommend people to do social media? Do you feel like it's a good thing to do? I always say yes, but like I'm curious, like just in case, like no. Like I hear you shaking your head. No, I didn't put you on. But like, what do you think?
No, you
Like, as a full-time?
must.
Oh.
Like did you mean as full time, or just to get on it?
Just like you should do it. Like it's a good thing to do as an investor.
I don't think there's any other option without it.
You have to.
You
Right.
have to.
Yeah. So
So talk about that. Like, why do you have to?
I
You were
apologize.
shaking your head, so I'm like,
Yeah.
whoa, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
Sorry. I'm very like,
Yeah.
no, I
Okay.
definitely think social media is just so important. And the other thing is that you will find you'll find yourself stuck in something with the business, and information will just find you.
Yeah.
But how are you going to do that if you don't have social media?
You also stay connected to people.
Yeah.
Say what you want, but a lot of folks, like, we don't message or text them all the time, but in social media, they see some of our stories and they're like, oh my God, you guys are building another cabin, like she said.
Yeah.
And I want to book it. Those kind of things. It definitely helped our business. We've gotten a few leads and few bookings through it. We haven't marketed at all. We have zero marketing.
Probably got to do that better.
Yeah. But we'll get to it.
I love it. Awesome. Cool. Well, yeah. So like we're starting to get to the end of the podcast, and I have one last question for you guys. It's a question that I always ask everyone, which is like, if you could go back to your guys' selves right when you were just starting off, what would you tell yourself then, knowing everything that you know now?
Yeah, that's an easy one. I would tell myself to buy Bitcoin. No, well, I mean, I'll take that first.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's no, it's still easy. Definitely. There's gonna be struggles. There's gonna be fear. There's gonna be hardships. But definitely go through that journey because it's worth taking. Right now it's easy for me to say that because I think we're in a good spot and we've somewhat are doing well. But I think there's a lot of fear that holds people back. But if you're smart about it, if you do your numbers, if you don't over leverage, and if you're frugal enough, you'll survive through.
Yeah. No, I think that's a really good point. And I think the other thing is, if I could go back, don't doubt yourself too much.
Yeah.
Don't doubt yourself too much. And like he always says, take all the advice, but know which one to take.
Yeah.
Because that could potentially make or break your future, honestly.
I mean, everyone told us, why are you guys doing business? What is Airbnb? Why are you doing this? Nobody like supported it when we were.
Okay, but here's one thing about those types of people.
Yeah.
Are a single one of them making more money than you
No.
in Airbnb or real estate investing?
No.
That's the issue, is people take
Yeah.
advice from people who aren't making more money than them.
No.
I think that's the biggest problem.
Yeah.
It's not even taking all the advice. It's taking advice from people who actually know more.
Yeah.
Not people who are making no money.
Those same people now want to do it. Those same people want to partner with
love
us, or they want to have them learn from us and say that, hey, I want to do it. But proving them wrong is, that's great joy.
Yeah.
Now we're like, hey, we made you guys believers.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it so much. Well, guys, I really appreciate you guys so much. Where can people reach out to you? Where can they send you deals? Where can they, follow you on social media? Like, where should people find you, or where can people find you?
You guys can find us. I guess I'll provide my main one. My Instagram and then it's VALO_VASHA, and it has a significant meaning to us. So
yeah.
What is it? What does it mean?
So it means,
is that right?
That's it. Yeah, perfect. So it's Balobasha, actually, and in our language it means lots of love, and it means a good home. It's so weird. I don't know why it means that, but that's also our website. And
What language is it?
Bengali.
Oh, nice. Love it.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
We also have our website.
And it's the same thing if you just put it .com.
Yeah, so balobasha.com is one word.
Yeah.
Okay. And can people reach out to, what would when people go to the website, what are they, is it just to see your stuff, or is there something they should do there?
Website mainly.
Yeah. Our email address there we have to update because
but it's primarily our rentals that you can book there.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Oh,
okay.
no underscore, sorry.
Oh, I'm just gonna make sure I got it right.
Yeah.
Basha.com. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, I love it. Is there anything else I can plug? Anything else you want my audience to know? Like anything at all? Before we start
that first deal is always going to be the hardest. And in this market, it's going to be even harder. Be frugal and make that deal happen, because every deal will make or break your future.
I love it. I love it so much. Cool. Well, any last words, and then I'm gonna do my outro. I mean, that was kind of your last words, right? But like, but Sayem, do you have any last words before I end it?
Go for it.
I mean,
maybe it's better than mine.
You know where to reach us. Send things our way, and we'll look at it. But best of luck to everyone.
Yeah.
I love it. Thank you guys so much for coming on. That's episode 128. We will be having episode 129. We're back on our regular schedule. I am back from vacation, so you guys will be doing this every single week. Sayem and Mayra stay on for a little bit afterwards. I always like talking afterwards, but people leave because they think I'm just like leaving right as it ends. But like, stay afterwards just so we can talk a little bit. Everybody, I appreciate you guys so very much. I will see y'all next week. Let's freaking go.